In this lecture, we'll be taking a look at how to create a custom component using Crank.js. So the first thing that we'll be doing is we'll be keeping our components in a separate directory. Let's create one over here inside the root directory, not inside src. So we'll select a file over here and then go ahead and say components. And inside this component, the first component that we'll be creating, let's call it as greetings.js. And now what we need to do is, first thing is importing the necessary crank package, and apart from this we'll also need to define the function. So let's call it as greeting, and then this is going to say hello world. And to do that we'll have this method return, and inside the return we'll be simply putting a div, and we'll say hello world for now. And let's save this. Now our component needs to be exported, so we'll say export default greeting and save this here. After this we'll be going to our index.js file that we have inside src directory. So we'll open that up, and inside that we'll be importing the component that we have created by saying import greeting, and then we'll specify from where we need to import this. So from the root directory inside components directory, and then the name of the file, as you can see it's greetings, so we'll say greetings. We don't need to specify JS as extension, so you have included that. Now one more thing we need to include from crank, and that is crank itself and then the DOM. So greetings we have included now. Next thing that we need to do is, here we'll define it as an app. So we'll say const app equal to, and then inside this we'll define the function. Now here we'll again have return statement, and inside return we'll have our div. Let's have this div as div id hello, and we'll put it inside this. And after that we can just go ahead and make use of the newly created component greeting and then close it over here. So in short, what we have done is we have this app defined with this return. Now the last statement that we have to do is we are making use of renderer.render, and now instead of writing this whole div we'll be actually writing app. So here we are writing the app as renderer.render. Now let's go ahead and run this to see it in action. So we'll say npm start, press enter, and as you can see there's a typo from my end, so that we need to fix. It's renderer from crank DOM, and here we needed to have create element. Now let's save this and run it again, and then when you will run it you will see the output as hello world. One thing over here to note is that you do ensure that the relative path mapping is correct. In my case I was trying to map it from root, but as the index.js file was inside the src directory, that was not working up, so I had to change that. And as you can see, we have now successfully created a very simple component hello world in crank.js. In the upcoming lectures we'll be seeing different variations of components that Crank supports, and after that we'll be creating one application as well using Crank.js. So more on this in the next lecture.